Go.
Hi, kind family. I am excited to be here with you guys tonight. You may notice that my face is a little bit different than normal. My name is Erin. I am a member of Team Kind. You may have seen me on the our live show, The Boob, with everybody. Normally Brianne does tonight, but she's feeling a little under the weather, so I am filling in for her. So I am really excited to be here and excited to talk to you guys all about breastfeeding and pumping and traveling. So we're going to be talking tonight a little bit about traveling with your breast milk, traveling with your pump, breastfeeding in public, breastfeeding when you're away from home, all those good kinds of things. So we're really excited to get some tips. I'm going to be joined a little bit later by Dominique, our IBCLC. So she'll have some tips for traveling with your breast milk, and we'll answer your questions and talk about all that. But to get started, I wanted to talk about our system, the Twist system. So everybody that's watching tonight will get a free breastfeeding starter pack. So we will put the link in the comments for that, but that looks like this. So it comes in this little box, comes in the mail for you. And inside of that box, you will get everything you need to start direct pumping, storing, warming, and feeding. So you'll get in there a pouch, which hooks to your breast pump. The starter pack comes with our standard adapter, which connects to a more narrow neck pump. This one specifically is Arto. And then also inside of the box will be our more wide mouth adapter, which work with Spectra, and some of the more wide mouth pumps. We also have adapters for most pumps on the market, so there's a good chance whatever pump you have will work. So you go ahead and pump directly into the pouch, and once you're done pumping, then you take the pouch off, and you can put the lid on and store the pouch in the refrigerator or freezer, whatever you need, or you can direct feed and pop it right into our Twist squeeze bottle. So to do that, you would just take your pouch with milk in it, pop it into the bottle, take your nipple of choice, just pops right in, and then you can feed baby or pop the lid on. So that is how that system works. So please click the link to get your free breastfeeding starter pack. So we're really excited to be here to talk about breastfeeding and travel. So let's see if we get some questions down in the comments. What kind of questions do you have about traveling with breast milk? Hopefully Dominique will be able to join me soon, but if we can get some questions from you, we'll get some conversation going. Maybe Kristen can pop up some questions from the pages, our social media. So we can get some conversation going. I know that summer can be a really fun time to travel, maybe going on flights, going to the beach, going to amusement parks, wherever you might be going this summer. The great thing is that you can breastfeed anywhere. So you are protected in the United States, and all 50 states now actually breastfeeding is protected. So anywhere that you can be legally, you can breastfeed. So that's really helpful to know, because I know sometimes that can be nerve-wracking when you're in public, or we'll see on social media people having comments or whatever about breastfeeding in public, but just know that you are protected in all 50 states to breastfeed and pump anywhere that you are allowed to be. I see we've got our first question. What is the best way to store on long road trips or flights? So if you're going to be on a long road trip or a flight, probably a cooler bag with an ice pack is going to be your best bet. Breast milk can be stored in a cooler bag with an ice pack for up to 24 hours. So that's typically the best way when you're going to be on a long road trip or a flight. As far as road trips go, if you don't have a cooler bag with ice packs, you can also use a cooler, any kind of cooler, and just refill ice throughout your trip. So a good rule of thumb may be to, every time you stop for gas, to refill the ice in the cooler. And then when you get to your destination, you can use the milk, refrigerate, or freeze it, um, whatever you need to do. Flights, as far as flights go, again, you can use a cooler bag. Your breast is not a carry-on bag. It's considered medical equipment on a flight. So that can fly with you, as well as breast milk does not fall under, the 3-ounce rule. So you can take as much breast milk with you as you need on the plane. And the same goes for your ice packs that go with your cooler. One tip or trick that I have that I've learned is that if your ice packs are thawed, then TSA may give you a hard time. So I would definitely have the ice packs frozen. Breast milk, that doesn't matter. It can be frozen or thawed or freshly pumped. It still does not apply to the 3-ounce rule. You just need to let them know that you, and they will screen it, or they'll put it through the X-ray machine, whatever. You just have to declare it. The same goes for formula and water for formula and baby food. So if you have pouches or anything that's to feed your baby, does not apply to the 3-ounce rule. So that can be really helpful. Another tip that I have when you're going through the airport is to print off the TSA guidelines. That way, in case anybody does give you a hard time, you have the guidelines right there to show you. Dominique, do you have any other tips for doing long road trips and flights?
Yeah, I think you hit on the pretty important stuff is just from learning with traveling and then asking, they like those ice packs when you're flying to either be completely frozen or to not have them at all. So if you have a long flight, just know that if your ice packs start to thaw, you have to pretty much get rid of them once they're completely thawed. Long road trips, just again, make sure they can be 24 hours in the cooler, but understand that the cooler has to be the same temperature. So just make sure that when you take your breaks, you are filling up those coolers with ice or refreshing your ice packs, is replacing the thawed out ones with frozen ones. And I think I saw another question on the screen with how long can it be, I guess, room temperature. Freshly pumped breast milk can be room temperature for up to 4 to 6 hours. And that's 4 to 6, not 46.
Can you touch on, Dominique? So 4 to 6 hours at room temp, but what if you're like in the car? So maybe it's not this consistent temperature. You know what I mean? Like, is it getting is it getting too hot in the car? Is it, you know what I mean? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. So I've not read a bunch, like any studies on that in particular. I just, tell moms to be safe. It's milk, right? So if you keep
Right.
cow milk out in warm temperature for a long time, it doesn't do very well. The same, I tell moms to use that same attitude with breast milk, right? So if it was in the cooler and it's thawed out, or the ice, the ice packs are all thawed out, and the milk is getting warm, I would still, do that same rule apply, that, once it's warm, it can only be warm for up to 4 to 6 hours.
Right. So if you're like, like I know when I travel, I sometimes pump in the car, put that
Uh-huh.
milk right in the cooler.
That's
That way
right.
it's not sitting on the dashboard, it's not sitting anywhere. Whereas at home, you may leave it on your counter or something like that. You have
Right.
consistent temperature. But in the car, screw your cap on, put it right in
Yep,
the
and put it
cooler. That
right
way
in the
you know.
cooler. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That would be what I would do, just to be on the safe side, because you do have those varying temperatures, and you want to keep it cold as long as possible.
Right. Okay. Okay, so This question from Brenda says, I'm going from Minnesota to Canada. That sounds like a fun trip. It's a 13-hour trip. We are traveling at night. How often should I stop? Also, how I keep the milk I'm taking with me frozen?
So, my advice there would be depending on the age of your child, just kind of follow their lead. I know we used to make the trip from Virginia to upstate New York. If we were to drive straight through, it'd be like an 8 hour trip. But we have three kids and at the time, two dogs. So it usually would take us 12 to 13 hours to make the trip. And I think we stopped every like 3 to 4 hours for like maybe like a 30 or 40 minute break. And we did drive at night because the kids would sleep longer stretches at night. So I would just follow the baby or the toddler's needs. If they usually sleep through the night, then I would just keep traveling um, until the baby wakes up, obviously. And as far as your milk goes, the best advice I can give you is dry ice to keep it frozen. Because if you take it out the freezer and you put it inside your cooler is not the same temperature as your freezer. So that milk will start to thaw. And if it completely thaws, you have to use it within 24 hours. So if that is your plan, then that is fine. But if you want it to stay completely frozen, I would maybe try some dry ice to see if it can keep it frozen during your trip. If not, it will thaw. There's
Right.
no way around it.
Yeah, I would, kind of same thing. When we travel with little kids, we stop every few hours. We also travel at night often for the same reason because our kids sleep. And
That's
so
right.
I would just, when we stopped for gas, fingers crossed that your kids stay asleep, just
Hmm.
would have my husband run in and grab some ice or whatever. That way
Yeah,
we don't have to all schlep out of the car, but the cooler gets refilled. But I agree, if you want to keep milk frozen, then dry ice is going to be your best bet. And traveling with kids is always a toss up. So, not breastfeeding related tip would be to have zero expectations. and
yes, that's a good
just
tip, I think.
and just stop as needed, especially if you have a breastfeeding baby. You're not just pumping, but you have a breastfeeding baby. Just stop as needed to nurse them, because they may sleep that whole time in the car because the car is lulling them, and they
Yep,
may be totally over the car and want to nurse more frequently. So if you don't, give yourself a good buffer of travel time.
that's right. That's right. I would say don't even go by what the MapQuest says. Just follow your baby's lead. And
Mm-hmm.
at if you have to get to your destination by a certain time, then I would definitely leave several hours early so that you can have time for the breaks and things.
Right. And so I noticed that Brenda said on here her baby is 9 months old. So depending on, every baby's different, but an older baby may sleep longer stretches. And so you be able to just pump and throw your milk right in the freezer
Yeah.
as opposed to having to stop. It just depends on how your baby sleeps, really. How long can breast milk stay on ice? Dominique covered that already, but 24 hours, right, would
Yes,
be
yes, in the cooler. And that's if the cooler stays the same temperature. Um,
right.
yeah, so that means replacing that ice often, making sure that it stays cold.
Yeah, so it's important to do that. So Kristen says, what are some tips for breastfeeding and pumping in public and being discreet?
Hmm. Pumping in public is tough. I know when we went on those long trips and I had to pump, I would in the car put a cover over me and then put my flanges on that way so that my breasts weren't out in the car while driving by, which wasn't, it is not a problem with like cars driving by, but I always got nervous, those 18 wheelers, because they sit so much higher than us. And one time when I was like a newbie, it was the first time we were traveling with a baby. and I'm pumping in the car, and a bus drives by, and it's a bunch of like teenagers on the bus, and I've got my boobs out, and I'm pumping in the car, and they all look so like, what is happening?
Right.
And of course, my hands are full, so I just told my husband it was like speed up or slow down, but get away from the bus.
Yeah, it always can be interesting. I'd say something else I would add to that is a hands-free pumping bra because they
Yes.
do give pretty good um, you know, give
Yeah,
protection.
coverage.
And then you
Yeah.
could pull your t-shirt down, or like you said, you could use a cover
Yeah. D-
um,
don't
to
be like me.
to keep you covered up. And something I definitely want to highlight while we're talking about that is if you're using the twist system, how easy it is to pump in the car. Because, you have your flat pouch, which can easily be fairly well hidden, as opposed to, I mean, not that a bottle can't be.
Right.
The pouch is really nice. And then as soon as you're done pumping, you twist it off and you've got your cap and you just pop that bad boy right in the cooler. And you don't have to worry about, I know, like inevitably, as soon as I untwisted my bottle, we'd hit a bump. And, there would go my milk. I'd probably drop the lid down on the floor
Yes.
or something, something like that.
I've
So,
done that several times, even with a bottle. Just I have it in my lap, and then all of a sudden it's not in my lap and it's on the floor.
right. Oh,
Between the
the
seat
worst.
where my hand doesn't fit.
Right. Oh yeah. And then you've got milk,
Yep.
that's loose and gonna warm up while you're traveling. And yeah, just what you need as a new mom, right?
That's right. Milk all
If
over the
you
car, all over your
if your
shirt.
kids aren't spilling it, then you are.
That's right.
Brienne says, oh, Brienne's watching with us. She says, just run through the airport with a pumping bra to make it to your next flight and pump before you leak everywhere. Hey, you know what? Mom's got to do what mom's got to do.
That's right. Now, though, I think they passed it. I don't know if it's in every state, but at least in our state, there's a law where the larger airports have to have nursing and pumping pods.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're trying to push for the smaller airports to have to as well now. So that may be helpful as well. At least at the airport, you have like a little pod to go to. You don't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and so many and a lot of airports, I know if they don't have a pod, they have like a
Yeah,
family bathroom or a
yeah.
parent or a nursing mom's room or some kind of place where you have a changing table, a sink, a chair, maybe an outlet, whatever that you can use to pump it. And you know what? If you have to do like Brienne said and just run through the airport with your pumping bra on, you do what you got to do.
That's right. Whatever, get your milk out and you to your flight on time.
Right? So many pumps these days are so portable that you
Yes.
could just throw it in your pocket,
And
and
it may work in your favor because people see that you're pumping and running and they'll stop and move out of your way to see the sight. And you don't have to fight people to get to your terminal. I think that might
right.
work in your favor.
Yes. And speaking of, the pods and nursing rooms, there are I'll have to look up the site or maybe Kristen can look it up for me. But I know that the Mamava pods on their site, you
Yeah.
can look up all the airports that
Oh,
they are
awesome.
in. And then there's another site that you can look up where you can pump almost anywhere, like at
Yes.
baseball fields and Disneyland. I think it's called Where to Pump or something similar to that. I'll have
Yes.
Kristen, can you look that up
I've
for
I've heard
us?
of that, and it's where I
Um,
think, and it's like where like other moms put in, hey, this is an okay place to
yes,
pump. Yeah.
yes, and the pump spotting bus also, I know,
Yes.
does that. So there are some resources out there if you are going to a baseball game or an amusement park or a concert venue or something like that at airport, that you can find places to pump if you don't want to or don't feel comfortable just like sitting on a chair somewhere.
Yep.
And I know that site also tells you like if there's a sink or if there's a chair or if there's an
Oh
outlet.
yeah.
So you can kind of be prepared if you need to have your manual pump or you need to have your electric pump or or those kind of different things. So definitely take advantage of those resources,
Yeah.
because I know for me, the more prepared I am, the way smoother my travel goes. It doesn't feel so quite so stressful
Yes, yes.
when when you are when you're trying to travel with breast milk. So, Dominique, would you touch on? I'm sure people are wondering. I know we've talked about a lot when you're at home. If your baby feeds off of a bottle and doesn't finish it, um, you know, reusing it within a couple hours. But what about when you're traveling? Would you recommend, if like in the car, say you pulled over, fed baby, they didn't finish that bottle? What would
Hmm.
be your recommendation on that?
I would say honestly, I would just give smaller portions just to be safe because you can refrigerate it, but just understand your refrigerator is colder than that cooler. So,
Right.
just to be on the safe side, I would just make smaller bottles and feed more frequently, or just have to refill the bottles more frequently than to do like a big one and the baby is so distracted by the trip that they don't eat, and then you have to waste it. I mean, I know your milk better than I do, but just on the bacteria growth and all that side of things, the reason why they say you can put it back in the fridge and feed just one more time is because of the temperature of the refrigerator. And that's just not going to be met inside your cooler. So I would treat it, unfortunately, like they do formula, um, with the exception of if the baby doesn't finish it within the 2 hours, I would toss it.
Yeah. And so can you touch on, you mentioned this, and I know this is something that was a surprise to me when I traveled for the first time with my breastfeeding newborn, is that how a baby may not want to eat as frequently when
Right.
traveling. So, yeah, the first time I traveled with my son, we stopped every 2 hours to nurse and he wouldn't. And,
That's
I was so distressed, like, what's going on?
right. He said, Mom, just
So,
new smells, new sights. I ain't got time for eating.
yeah. So, can you touch on that a little bit and how to know, like, when too long has been too long, or what baby may do when you get to your destination, those kinds of things?
Yeah, so, also this is also the age of your baby, right? So if you have a younger baby, then definitely stopping more frequently is something that I would do and offer to nurse the baby. But understand that that car is going to be lulling them to sleep. So they probably will sleep longer stretches, and may not want to nurse because of that. If you've got an older baby, they're going to be so distracted by the new sights, by the new sounds, even sometimes just by nursing in a new area. They just want to check it out, so they may not nurse very frequently. So just kind of be prepared for that and have your hand pump ready so that you can pump, because I guarantee you, as soon as you put that baby back in the car and you get 30 minutes up the road, they're going to start screaming because they're hungry.
Right. Or, like what my son did that very first trip was he like waited and waited. He like kind of, did that like snacky nursing.
Uh-huh.
And then when we got there, that whole evening, he made up for
Oh,
all that
yes. That
feeding
cluster
that he
feeding.
had,
Yes.
yeah, that he
Yep.
had missed. So,
They will do that too, kind of like when mama goes back to work for the first time and they're pissed about it. They'll cluster feed that whole night. Like, don't leave me again. So that
right.
is quite normal. That's quite normal as well. And another thing that I would say that might be helpful is, if you do have a distracted nurser, maybe try, I don't want to shame moms and put them in a corner, but sometimes a less distracting area to nurse in, may be beneficial. So maybe going to the back of the restaurant, if that's where you guys stopped at, or maybe you climbing into the back seat of the car and just kind of lounging out there. And just making it least distracting for the baby to try to get them to latch for you.
That, yeah, definitely. And that's where, some of those resources can come in handy. You may be able to time your stop somewhere
Right.
that right has an area that you can go in. So another question, Kristen asked, what about your parts. So normally, in your home, you rinse or you can throw your pump parts in the fridge. What about when you're traveling? What would you recommend you do with your pump parts? Would you keep them in the cooler? How would you clean them?
Well, so I will say this. I think like 2 years ago, the CDC came out and said that they no longer recommend that moms store their pump parts in the refrigerator between pumping sessions. And I will say this, I don't 100% agree. They did like a small study with like a handful of moms and they found one little piece of bacteria. And so now we all have to suffer because of it. So I just want to put that out there that that is a thing. However, again, I personally don't agree with it. I think if you store it in the cooler, you'll be fine. But to be on the safe side, because there was a study done, I would maybe get those pump wipes that they sell. And just wipe your parts down between pumping sessions when you're in the car to be on the safe side. They are antibacterial, those wipes, and they dry really quickly and you don't really have to worry. If you stop, then you can just rinse them really well in the sink and then wipe them down with the wipes as well if you want to.
Yeah, and I think the cooler, you can put them in a cooler. A lot of people like to take like a wet bag, right, or something
Yeah.
like that, that you can keep your, at least it keeps, like, I don't know about your car, but my car, like crumbs and dust and everything kind of collect
I've
when
got
you're
3 kids.
traveling.
There's lots of that in my car.
Right. So if you don't want to put them in the cooler, like maybe you're using a smaller cooler that they don't fit in or something like that, something like a wet bag or even a Tupperware container with a lid that closes,
Yeah.
maybe a
I
helpful
did a
place
big
to
one of
keep
those
them.
gallon size Ziploc bag situation. That's what I used to do when I was at work and just kind of tossed the whole thing in.
Right. And then, of course, when you get to your destination, you can wash them really good with
Yeah.
soap and water or whatever. But those wipes are really handy. That's a really um, good tip. And same for when you're flying, because, you may
Yes.
need a pump on your flight, and airplane bathrooms are not the most helpful
Right.
of spaces. If you can even get in there, So those wipes can be really helpful in those scenarios.
Yes.
Um, can you touch on what if somebody's staying in a hotel? How they like something I didn't know I learned later was that those mini fridges in hotels are not the same as your fridge at home.
Exactly. So I was working on in a hospital as a lactation consultant. First of all, did a big push to get fridges in all of the rooms because we didn't have that at first. But I have to remind the staff and the parents that that refrigerator does not get as cold as the ones that you have at home. And in fact, the storage guidelines for that is 3 days in that refrigerator to store your milk. So just kind of be um, I guess just remember that when you do go to the hotel, don't try to pump, gallons and gallons of milk because it doesn't keep very long in those refrigerators. And I don't even think the freezer part gets cold enough to keep your milk frozen. One thing that you can do is some hotels have a refrigerator in their kitchen that they will allow you to use if they have that capability, I guess, and in their hotel. You just have to ask. And if you do that, please secure your stuff so no one goes in there and accidentally takes your milk. I would advise like a lunchbox, like a solid color lunchbox that you cannot see through. Write your name and the room number on there and just check on it periodically throughout your trip to make sure that your milk is still in there and that no one's messed with it. But yeah, those little mini refrigerators in the rooms, they do not keep the breast milk for long periods of time just because the temperature is not the same.
Right. And also speaking on the fridges, I know something not related to storing, but if you have a room that doesn't have a fridge, you can ask for one just like somebody that had a medication or something like that could ask for one. You
Yes.
could ask for them for medical equipment. Inga says, I found that pumping on the go is all about planning and asking before. And that is so true. Find out, what kind of area you're going to be in, if there is going to be a fridge, if you can get a fridge, because getting there and being surprised is a lot more stressful than being able to plan for
Yes.
those kinds of things. Another question I saw on here that Kristen asked, she says, for fun, where is the craziest place you've ever had to pump or nurse?
Oh, um, the craziest place? I don't know. Um, Gosh, I don't. I just nurse anywhere, so
Right?
I can't think of any place that necessarily pop in my mind as crazy. I don't know if this is crazy, but I have at a Costco once prop those big water bottles. It's like the 24 or 32 bottle packages. I stacked those up like a throne one time and sat there and nursed my baby. I don't know if that's crazy, but my kid was big and too heavy to walk around. So
Right?
my husband was in that aisle and I sat down. I made my throne and nursed and he went to the other aisle. And then he came
Did he
back
bring
and
you like a
got
little
me.
plate of samples?
Oh,
He's
I
like, here's your.
wish. I should have parked my butt next to the samples, but yeah, people walked by and they just kind of, I guess they weren't expecting me in the water spot. And then they're like, why
Right.
are you just sitting there holding a baby? And sometimes I do take it. Well, when I was nursing, I took advantage of the rocking chairs um, that Target has. The only downside about that is like right in the middle of the baby section. So you are like on display, lounging in the rocking chair, nursing the baby. Again, I don't particularly care too much, but I know some people don't like being on display. But I was like, it's there. I'm sitting.
Right?
How
Yeah,
else
I
do I
can't.
buy the product?
Right. I haven't been anywhere exciting enough to call it crazy, but let's see. Maybe those viewers that are watching can chime in with crazy places they've pumped or nursed, and we'll see what's like the craziest or the most exciting place. That would be a fun. That might be fun to see because I know we have lots of moms who are traveling. Oh, Inga says at a Florida Georgia Line concert.
Oh.
That's pretty. That's pretty
Oh yeah.
crazy.
I have nursed at a festival before. I didn't think about that. Not a concert. And I think Jackie says she did at a hairdresser. I've definitely done
Oh,
that before.
oh yes,
I put the baby right underneath the smock and just keep going. And
yes.
I remember I was getting my hair colored too, which is probably terrible. And the hairdresser's like, "Do you want me to take a break?" I was like, "Absolutely not." And just lifted the smock and stuck the kid in there and covered him back up. He was totally okay with it. He didn't mind.
Right? He's just like, I just want to eat, mom.
That's right. He goes, whatever gets that done.
Whatever, whatever you got to do to. Kristen says she's pumped at a football game, SEC football game. I will say I have been to some sporting events, and often stadiums have really nice accommodations
Yes.
for moms. So if you're traveling to a baseball game or you're traveling to like, especially like a major league or a professional sporting event, if they don't have a lounge, like a mother's lounge or a parent lounge, they'll often let you use their first aid station, which is really nice usually.
Yes. I forget which stadium it is. I want to say maybe the Cubs. Is that a baseball
Yeah,
team?
in Chicago.
You tell how much I do sports. I want to say it's them that put in a parent room and it's like totally like done up like with chairs and there's TVs in there so you can still watch the game and there's like a little like snack area too because we know breastfeeding moms eat for like 8 people. Um it's really nice. I have to look it up and see if it's that stadium, but it's like they did a big news like it was in a newspaper. They put it in and did it up real nice, and I was really jealous that I don't particularly like baseball games, so I was like, I really wanted to use that room.
Right. Yeah. With a lot, like we were saying, lots of Major League Baseball teams have that now. Um, so yeah, if you're traveling for sporting events, I know a lot of people do that during the summer. They want to go see their favorite team. That's good. Another Kristen says she sat on the wall in front of the Dumbo ride at Disney. I know Disney is a very popular summer destination, and they are really fantastic to parents. They have
Yes.
child care rooms all throughout the park. They're
Yes.
extremely supportive of breastfeeding. If you need anything, they'll be there to help you. So if you're going to Disney, rest assured that you will have somewhere to cool off and feed your baby, and or you have an overstimulated child, whatever.
That's right.
Um,
And I've heard plenty of mom tell me too that they do not mind disciplining their workers either if they get out of line and tell you that you can't nurse in a certain area, which I think is, great. Not that workers are getting yelled at, but, like this is
did
our
they
policy.
educate, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dominique, I saw a question about shipping breast milk. So, what if you're traveling and you have either you're going to be gone for a really long time, or you have way more breast milk than you feel like you want to carry with you? Can you talk what you know about shipping breast milk or sending breast milk back home?
I don't know a terribly lot about it. I do know I've got a lot of military friends that got deployed and had to send breast milk back home. And just from them telling me, I don't have direct experience. It has to be shipped 24 hours,
Right.
which can be costly if you have a lot of milk. And I believe they ship it on dry ice to keep it frozen because it has to stay frozen. They will not let you ship it thawed. Um, and I think there's only certain places that will ship it. So I would think that you would need to just ask first, hey, do you ship breast milk? And they would give you their policies on it if they do, and their criteria. But I've had plenty of military moms that have shipped their breast milk from wherever they were deployed at back home so their babies can continue to get milk. And I think I read an article recently that is it the Navy or Coast Guard? I think it's the Coast Guard is now actually going to pay for you to ship your breast milk back home, which I think
Oh, that's
is
really cool.
wonderful. Yeah, because it's expensive.
Hmm.
um, so the fact that they're willing to do that for their moms is amazing. I did read one comment on the news article that was like, just give them better maternity leave. I was like, well,
It's a step in the right direction,
that's
right?
right. I was, I'm thinking, I was like, we're gonna get there, but they're gonna first they're gonna see how much it costs to ship breast milk, and then they're gonna say, well, maybe it is cheaper to just let them stay out longer.
Right. Yeah. Brienne commented, that using the dry ice, like you said, and she mentioned a company that we here at Kind like to have worked with called Milk Stork.
Uh-huh.
And they are a company that they'll send you everything you need. So they'll send you the box, the
Oh,
shipping label,
awesome.
all that stuff, so that they'll send it. I believe they'll send it to your destination. So like they'll send it to your hotel. And then you put everything in the box. It's like an insulated box. You ship it up, tape it up, and then just give it to the hotel, or if you go to a FedEx location or whatever, and they'll ship it for you.
Awesome.
So if you don't want to do it all yourself, if you don't want to, get the dry ice and go find FedEx or whatever, then look into Milk Store because they're a really great company that kind of simplifies the process. Still, you're
Awesome.
going to have the cost of the overnight shipping, and that just is what it is. But
Yeah.
it kind of simplifies it so that you don't have to call FedEx and call UPS and find dry ice. I know, like in some area, like in my area, there is no dry ice. You can't
Oh,
you
that
can't get it.
sucks.
I know. So it's like Milk Stork, their boxes are they're insulated.
Oh,
So it works out, and they provide the little cold packs that you like crack and put in there, and it works out. So anyway, that's a really great way if you have, like I was saying, if you have a lot of breast milk, or if you need to get breast milk home to your baby, quickly, that you're not going to have left enough for them or something like that, then you can ship your breast milk um, your breast milk from your destination. So that's a good thing to know, because I know, like, we worry as moms, like, oh, did we leave enough? Or
That's
um,
right.
I've worked with moms who are gone for a month at a
Yep.
time for work. And it's like, they're like, how am I gonna, I can't have a month's worth of breast milk. That's a whole suitcase,
That's right.
so, in
That's
some
right.
circumstances. So yeah, shipping breast milk is definitely an option.
Also, too, one thing that I did, I had a toddler when I traveled away, and I did not want to bring the milk back with me. He was fine here. So I found a local mother to donate to um, while I was in the area. So if that is something like a situation that you have and you're traveling and you don't want to travel with the breast milk and you don't want to ship it, find where you can donate it locally in the area that you're at. Um, and I mean, I searched it, and within 20 minutes, that milk was gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's always an option too. If you're in a situation where you have a ton of milk at home, your baby's fine, and you're pumping to maintain your supply, you really don't want to bring it back with you. You can always donate locally as well, um, and then you don't have to worry.
Yes, I have also done that. I've been at, events or something like that and found a mom. It's like crazy how fast, social media travels. You just put on there, I have this milk, and, inevitably, or more and more communities that, you can look into um, donating. You may have to go through a short screening process or something like that, but
Yes, yes.
you could, donate. So yeah, I think, we've covered, traveling in our car with breast milk. We've covered flying, doing the airport, trying to think what other ways people may be traveling that we may, you know, I think that the car is probably going to be the car or the airport. So
Yeah.
if we're talking about, okay, we've talked about pumping in the airport. And we talked a little bit about pods in the airport, for nursing your baby, but nursing your baby on the go in the airport, tip that I can share that's often helpful for me is to wear your baby in the airport.
Yes.
So there's so many carriers that you can breastfeed in, and that can be another just really discreet way to feed your baby. And that goes for amusement parks, airports, really anywhere you're going to be. If you don't want to try to find somewhere to sit down, you don't have somewhere, you want to be a little more covered up,
Yes.
then baby wearing can be really dual purpose
Yes.
because you've got to carry your baby anyway,
That's right.
and then you're
And
able to
everything else.
feed them.
I liked baby wearing as well because it kept my baby free from other people touching. People love babies and they like to touch babies. And I think of the airport like Walmart, there's a ton of people in there that I really, like it's just too many germs, too many
Mm-hmm.
people. So baby wearing keeps my baby to me. No one comes into my space and tries to touch the baby. They just see the baby's in there. If you got a toddler, it keeps your toddler from running around and touching things. Also, too, if you have a baby, excuse me, not if you get one, but if you have one, if you have one that gets overstimulated or overwhelmed very easily, baby wearing really does kind of center them and calm them down and keep them from being distracted by everything around them. So it's really good.
Yes.
Another tip for at least nursing babies on the airplane is to nurse with takeoff and descent because it helps with the popping of the ears. Some babies don't like that. I know I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I chew my gum to keep that from happening, and then you nurse the baby, especially during that time. So that sucking will help keep their ears from popping as well, and it makes for an easier flight too, because generally some babies fall asleep anyway while they're nursing, so then your baby will sleep the flight, and it's stress
Yes,
free
and
for you.
same could be said if you're pumping to give your baby a bottle. Any
Yes.
kind of sucking, motion. And something else I wanted to mention about baby wearing in the airport is that if you're wearing your baby, you do not have to take them off through security. So it's a really nice way to like not be fumbling, right? You don't have to put everything in. You can go through security with your baby on as long as your carrier doesn't have any metal pieces. Megan says, my baby sits so high, I don't know how I'd be able to nurse while wearing him. So normally you do wear your baby up nice and high, close enough that you can kiss the top of your head. But when you are breastfeeding, you can just slide down the one side. So loosen the strap on the one side of your carrier, wiggle them down, retighten
And then
while
tighten
they're
it. Yep.
nursing. Yeah, while they're nursing, that's safe. As soon as they finish, bump them back up to that close enough to kiss position, or, if you need to do the other side. But it is safe to wiggle them down a little bit just while they are feeding. And then as
And
soon
if
as
you
they're done.
and if you're unsure, every carrier known to man has a YouTube channel. And and
Yes.
they do go over that. So they show you how to safely lower in that carrier to nurse the baby and how to bring it back up. And if you cannot find it on YouTube, then in the local areas, at least where I live, there's a lot of baby wearing groups, and they show you how to do those things safely. So before you take your flight, maybe visit the YouTube channel, or maybe visit the local baby wearing group so that they can show you how to do that safely in your carrier. That way you'll know how to do it once you're there, and you don't struggle with it. And you look badass too, because you've got all their stuff and your baby's nursing.
Yes, that's what Katie just said. I remember feeling like super mom the first time I managed to breastfeed while wearing my baby in the middle of a crowd. And it's like, yes, that is so true. That's totally how you feel. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, look at me. I'm holding my baby. I'm feeding my
That's
baby. Nobody
right.
even, and like you want to be like, nobody even knows. But at the same time, you want to like shout at the top of your lungs, like, look what I'm doing. Because it does feel so liberating and freeing. And I know for me, it made going places way easier because I
Yes.
knew that no matter what the circumstance was, now obviously my baby didn't cooperate every single time, but for the most part, that I would have a safe way or a hands-free way or whatever to feed my baby while we were wherever. And I know some moms are commenting their baby never got the hang of breastfeeding in a carrier. Like you mentioned before, breast or baby wearing groups can be a great place to get some assistance on that. But also just baby wearing is great for travel in general. Even if you have to take
Yes.
your baby out to feed, having all that other time hands free with your baby stuck to you or nobody can touch them, they can't run away. Baby wearing can just be a really, really helpful tool um, for traveling in general. I know me, I baby wear and then put all my crap in the stroller.
That's right. The stroller's not for carrying babies. It's for carrying all the things.
Stuff, right? Yes, so baby wearing can be a good thing. Julie says she's been nervous to nurse while baby wearing, but she'll have to try. Yes, definitely try and look up your local baby wearing group. And you can also look up local baby wearing educators. And those are people that have taken certification. So they know about almost probably all the carriers, all the carries that you can do. They can help you fit your carrier. They can help you nurse. They can help you do pretty much anything you ever wanted to do. In a carrier, and carriers are made to fit all bodies, all sizes. So there's something out there that will work for you. as far as baby wearing goes. So definitely give it a try. Like we've recommended with some other things, give it a try at home so that you don't feel totally overwhelmed the first time that you go out and do
Yes.
it. But but once you practice at home, then usually it feels so. Um, definitely try that and look up those companies if you are nervous about it. Kathy says, I'm going to research walking and nursing on the tube. So yes, guarantee that YouTube has a video. And then I have a sister who she could like just hold her baby and nurse while she was walking, but I never got the hang of that. I
Yeah.
always had
It
to.
gets it's easy when they're little, but as they get bigger, it's cumbersome. I much better liked nursing in the carrier.
Yes,
For
me
sure.
as well. Yes. Yeah, it's so nice to nurse while baby wearing. Um, I would say talk to a baby wearing educator about bottle feeding while wearing. Do you know any about that, Dominique, if that is a safe position to offer a bottle in?
I think you still have to lower a little bit with the bottle. Just they high, they would have to hold their head in a pretty awkward position to do the bottle. I think you still have to lower them. I will say though, I'm not 100% sure. I fortunately never had to do that. So I don't know, and I never asked. Like I never knew to ask that question either. Um, but I would think just thinking about the baby in the carrier, I think you would still have to lower just to get a better angle on the bottle. Because if not, then they'd be feeding with their head cocked back,
Right.
which is not that great to be eating. And I know I don't enjoy eating that way.
Right. I think that, reach out to your professionals, to your baby wearing educator, to your pediatrician and double check on that. But I do believe it's also doable, um, you know, in the carrier. So let's see if we can get some more questions about traveling while breastfeeding. What questions to our kind community, our kind family that's watching? What questions do you have about traveling with breast milk or traveling while breastfeeding and pumping or while feeding a young baby that we have not covered yet? We want to help you. So knowing what questions you have is going to be most helpful for us. Lots of people are saying, I can't walk and nurse, I need to sit. Hey, you know what? If breastfeeding your baby is what you need to have an excuse to sit down or to take a break from the chaos of travel, please use it. This says, is there a trick to breastfeeding while wearing baby if you are large chested? I would say kind of the same thing. You may have to lower a little
Yeah.
bit more, or use your free hand to support your
And there's
breast.
certain carriers that are more kind to big breasted women while nursing than others. Like a ring sling comes to mind, and some of the buckle carriers do really good too. But your local baby wearing group or even online baby wearing will have the better suggestions for you and how to do that. I know it's
Yes.
possible.
Yes, I think so. So we're getting short on time. I know that we could always go on and on these lives. We could just talk for days. Um, but so I think we've had some great conversation. Let's wrap up and give away our gift set.
Can I
So
can I answer this one question that we have really
yes,
quickly?
absolutely.
It's the plugs. So most breast pumps are 12-volt. So all you have to do is find a 12-volt car adapter. I know Medela sells them, but you can get like a generic from anywhere, and it should fit your pump just fine. But just understand that it's going to not be as strong as when you plug it into um, the wall. But you can get any generic. adapter. Just look at your hole, and they sell for the car.
Yes, and lots of pumps too. You can double check if your pump can run on like a battery pack,
Oh yeah, that's
or
right.
or
Some
have
do
or
have
have
battery
batter
packs.
some, or some have batteries. So,
Yeah.
um,
Sorry.
but no, you're fine. And our team will be answering these questions as they come in the comments. So we'll make sure too that if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments. Share the video with your friends. But let's give away a gift set. So our Twist gift set has everything um, that you need to get started with the Kind system. And our winner for tonight is Inga, and I hope I don't butcher your last name, Andre or Inga Andre. You are the winner of the gift set tonight.
Yay!
So send us a message, and we will get your information for that. But thank you all so much for being with us. We couldn't do these lives without you, so we really appreciate our Kind family. If you haven't yet, be sure to join our support group, Kind Community. I'll have our team put the link in the comments. But over at Kind Community, Dominique lives in that group as well as
That's
some of our
right.
other lactation providers. So you can ask questions. There's other families in there. It's a great group to get support, kind of to continue these conversations that we have on our live chats every single day. So thank you for your support, and thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.